Memphis Live continues with your host, Amy Sparopoulos.
It's estimated that some 120 million Americans enjoy their wine. So are you a Chardonnay, Cab, or Pinot gal? Whichever one you prefer, you might be like so many of us and often run into the never-ending question, which wine goes with which meal? To cut out the guesswork and help us answer those questions and more, welcome this morning the expert, Brian Phillips. Good morning to you, Brian.
Good morning, Amy. How are you?
Doing great. So talk a little bit first off about some of the trends that you're seeing when it comes to wine.
Yeah, I think right now there's a younger generation coming up that's a little more experimental and trying a lot of different esoteric varietals. And I do think that we've seen the skyrocketing rosé trend happening. Here we are in the middle of summer, so rosé is a perfect wine for that. But I think it's becoming a year-round wine as well. And I think that's just led by people that are trying different things.
Absolutely. I love it. And when it comes to picking the perfect wine with our meals, I know there are some things to remember and some things maybe perhaps to forget. Tell us about some things like that.
Yeah, there's so many rules out there. It can become confusing and way more confusing than it should be. I think step number one, just find a good wine and trust some of those people in the restaurants. You know, those service team members are trained to really know the wines and speak clearly to them. So if you have a good wine with good food, that works. But if you have some really hard, fast, really overarching rules, think about the weight of the wine with the weight of the food. So if you're having some light seafood, shellfish, you want a light, crisp white wine. And, you know, inversely, if you're having a steak, you want something a little bit bolder like a Cabernet or Merlot. And if you're in doubt, go with something like Pinot Noir. It's a light-bodied red wine. It can work with seafood, can work with steak as well. Kind of makes everybody happy, especially if you're entertaining and don't know which bottle to pick.
So it's very versatile.
It is. It works with everything.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about the generous pour.
Yeah, so the generous pour is one of those opportunities to come in and have a personalized wine dinner experience. So for $28, you get to try 7 wines. And this year, we're featuring the wines of Dan Duckhorn. He's one of the original founding pioneering winemakers in Napa Valley, one of the first 40 wineries there. Wow. He has since thus expanded into other regions, including Red Mountain of Columbia Valley, Washington. And the server's really there to do all the thinking for you. So you can come in, sit back, relax, just say you're going to do the generous pour. No matter what you order, they'll personalize the pairings for you. Make sure you get to try each wine, and then you get to decide which ones you like the most, and you can go back and revisit those as much as you like.
Very cool. So, and this was, you said this was one of the 4th wineries in California. Is that what you said?
Yeah, one of the first 40 wineries of Napa Valley was Duckhorn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, do you have a favorite, or are they all just yummy?
They're all great. You know, the Pinot Noir rosé that we're featuring, this is the first time it's being featured in a restaurant. So this is an opportunity to try that for the first time at the Capitol Grill. Then if I had to pick a red, I'm going to go with the Canvasback. A lot of people know Cabernet Sauvignon. They know Napa Valley, but maybe they're not familiar with Red Mountain. It's the smallest wine growing region in Washington State, but it produces some of the world's best Cabernet Sauvignons. And so it's really underrated and a little bit under the radar right now. But I really think that's one of my favorite wines in the lineup.
Wonderful. And I'm so glad that you, right off the bat, you started talking about the rosé kind of making a comeback. It's interesting because I seem to, on social media, you know, and things like that, looking on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, you see so many people now enjoying a nice rosé. So I thought, what's the deal with this? I mean, but it's making a comeback, clearly.
It really is. And I think that in the past, it used to be, I think, for me, one of the first ones I ever had was a sip of my mom's white Zinfandel I snuck, right?
Me too.
Rosé has really come, You're like, what is that? But rosé has really come a long way. It's a high-quality wine now. There's wineries that focus solely on producing rosé. And then people are discovering regions where that's what they do, like Provence, where rosé is what they do. That's what they focus on. They're like, wow, these are really good. And they're perfect with all kinds of food, light and refreshing. And I think right now in the summer, you're getting those strawberries and cherries off the vine. Bottle rosé with that, perfect.
Absolutely. And I don't know how it is in NYC this time of year, but I know here in Memphis, Tennessee, it is hot. So a nice rosé goes well with that warm weather. So, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate it. You can go to the Capitol Grill to get more information on everything that we talked about. Coming up, we will go live again to Harold Theater in Collierville for another live performance with Sarah Biggs and the entire cast of Beauty and the Beast.